I really start to question motives and intentions. This is not, I've said this for the last 4 or 5 years. This is not how you set a budget. You don't set a millage rate and then you find out how much you gotta use first. You find out how much the DA's office needs, how much the sheriff's office needs, how much these other departments need, and then set the budget. You set your budget based off of needs. Oh, this is what we had last year. Oh, we're trying to get the millage rate low again. Oh, we don't care if 1,500 rapists and murderers go running free. We want to have the lowest millage rate ever. Let all the rapists out. Let all the murderers out. We want to have a low millage rate. That doesn't make any sense. Cooperate with these people. They shouldn't have to come here, Mr. Herman, Ms. Whitmore. They should not have to come here and beg for money. So, can somebody, anybody tell me why this evidence building is not on the agenda today? No one? No one? Has anyone ever heard of the building before?
So, Commissioner Arrington, I'm not sure why the original, Madam D, I'll address you as well, Commissioner. I'm not sure why the original evidence facility was not on the agenda today. We met with your staff not a week ago to view the consolidated warehouse that
I don't know anything about a consolidated warehouse. My brother doesn't know anything about a consolidated warehouse. I'm not sure that I would approve a warehouse with departments I'm investigating, but when you don't consult the DA and you have her staff spend 1,000 hours and 28 meetings and his staff spend 1,000 hours and 28 meetings on the warehouse we were told would be on the agenda, and Madam, I want to be really respectful. We were asked in June to be on the agenda. And we listened and deferred to your staff who said what the county manager, these people will want is not just the warehouse, but also they're gonna wanna know about how much money is on improvements. And so me and the sheriff's men agreed, okay, we'll wait till the July 14th menu so we can give these people the full picture. And then I gotta go meet with Commissioner Hall, Commissioner Hausman, Commissioner Pitts, Commissioner Ellis, and they all saying, what are you talking about? It's not on the agenda. It's disingenuous. It makes me not trust you, and it makes me talk to them. And that's the truth.
And I understand that, DA Willis, and I apologize for there was a clear lack of communication because I believe from the presence of your staff that you were aware about the consolidated warehouse we were discussing.
I never agreed to a consolidated warehouse, and nor did the sheriff, and he can speak for himself.
I understand. We will revisit that discussion and bring the item forward for the evidence facility we were previously discussing.
Okay, where are we? You finished, Commissioner? All right, Commissioner Abdul-Rahman.
Yeah, I'm finished. Okay.
The same reason is when we can pass an agenda item in March and the county manager can bring it back, a plan that doesn't have it on it. I've been talking about this culture since day one. I've been ridiculed about it. I've been said I'm loud and wrong, you know, but this culture we have, we can't get mortgage assistance, we can't get nonprofit assistance, we can't get all these things, the DA office can't get what she needs, the sheriff can't get what he needs, but more importantly, this culture of lying to elected officials when they're telling you what their needs are and you blowing smoke. Now, I know we don't want to hear that, and I know here I'm supposed to be loud and wrong, but I'm loud and right. Because the culture I walked into here is one of tell them anything to get them out your face, point blank. And this is where the rubber hits the road, because welcome to Fulton County, where we're not going to give you help with mortgage, we're not going to give you nonprofit assistance, we're not going to take crime seriously, we're not going to take crime, and I commend you, Sheriff, because you're trying to do criminal justice reform. You're a cutting edge. Welcome to Fulton County, where we can't do any of the things to make the county better, but we can give the county manager an $11,000 bonus. Shame on Fulton County. This is where the rubber hits the road. You are lying to these elected officials. You are not holding your colleagues accountable. And then we come down here every meeting, get a check for coming down here, lying to the public, lying to the elected officials, and they can't do their job. But we can get an $11,000 bonus. Shame on you. Welcome to Fulton County.
All right, Commissioner Hall and Commissioner Ellis, it's 8:40, no, 8 o'clock. And we've heard a lot today, and we got a lot to talk about prior to that next meeting. But let's
Yes,
get it
sir.
all on the table.
Yes, sir, Mr.
Vice Chair
Chairman.
and
I just want to make sure that the county manager and county executives are going to provide us with the information that I requested, because before I could even finish or they didn't even respond, we had moved on to the next speaker. So I'd like an acknowledgement of, at least if you can take care of that. No one said anything before Commissioner Arrington spoke. Are you going to be able to provide that information?
I can respond. Whatever you're requesting, Commissioner Hall, will provide you before the next meeting.
And
But
bring the millage rate back after you provide the information.
we already voted on that.
We're going to vote on it again.
Commissioner Ellis.
Just sort of 2 or 3 questions. Well, first off, I just want to say this. Thanks for coming down, and I appreciate the remarks. I do think we can and need to reach a point where we have conversations that don't look like this, that allow things to get facilitated and work gets done. And I'm not going to point fingers at anybody in terms of where the breakdown lies on this. I think it's important that we move ahead and move ahead in that spirit. We're not each other's enemies. I think we're all fully aware of what all the crime issues are. Certainly you deal with them and see them day to day and have a different viewpoint on those than each of us. And I get that, but we all recognize where we are with it and are fully intent on doing something about it, from our management team to this board and certainly to you all. We did just approve today, $75 million of expenditures, that will be spent over the next 2.5 years, I guess, or two and a quarter, I guess. Is that it? Right. I guess my ask in terms of our staff, it would be to ensure that all of the justice partners, not just our sheriff and our DA, understand what that means for them, and that we're all on the same page on that. Hopefully that's the case, but it seems to me like there's maybe some disconnects with that. Maybe some of that means because we've just been trying to get this thing fully assimilated and numbers down on paper and then get it approved by us. It was approved today. Nobody was holding that up. Everybody wanted to do it. We wanted to do it at the last meeting. We wanted to ensure that it fell under these guidelines, and it does, and we certainly all want to move ahead on this as quickly as possible. So my ask of the management team certainly is to ensure that everybody understands kind of what their components, individual components of this are. I know this issue of salary savings, I hope that was never was communicated that to any department that they can't use salary savings, but maybe it was, maybe it wasn't, maybe there was miscommunication around it, but I do think whether it's whether our sheriff's office or other departments, that everybody have a full understanding of what the rules are around using salary savings, because that's been a breakdown at different points in time. So I do think if we could have those guidelines spelled out for everybody, it's the same. They understand it, understand what the rules are, right? So that there's not confusion around that. And then, and I think as we move forward with all of this, it's what are the numbers in front of us? Anecdotes, I think, are important. The emotion of it behind it is fine, but really the hard data is important too. We've talked about this in terms of the efficiency of our court system, and this, gets outside of our sheriff and DA even, and stuff we've had conversations around before. and courts got shut down, we realized that changed, but that we continue, that we get in a pattern of looking at that and looking at that data over and over and over and over, so that we are making the right investments and making the right resource allocation that's needed. And that we're not dealing in the anecdotal, that we're dealing in the facts. And we're dealing in the facts and making a difference in the lives of our citizens. So,
Mr. Chair, can I ask a quick request while we're asking, right? And this is not the fault of anyone here. Our radio system, and I just learned this today, Mr. County Manager, when we send people to go pick up extradited inmates or go do extraditions outside of Fulton County, we can't even communicate. Only to be held hostage to a Motorola contract that says, in order for it to work, it's going to cost us another $400,000 or $500,000. So if we could look into that, I certainly would love to have that conversation. And Ms. Whitmore, I'd love to publicly ask for our teams to be able to meet in person, so that we can too drill down on these cost savings, these salary savings, and use that accordingly. So thank you all for your time.
Thank you, Sheriff.
I appreciate it.
Let's sum up here now. Commissioner Houseman wants to be recognized, and then we'll.
Just briefly, first of all, I appreciate very much you coming and communicating. And I, again, also really regret that we're having this conversation, and I can feel your passion and your frustration, and, you know, it's contagious, if you will. And honestly, the breakdown with finance, I think we've all experienced it. You know, sometimes we can't understand why a contract approved for a partner in January doesn't get paid until June, because they call a commissioner's office and ask why it hadn't been paid. It should be paid automatically. You shouldn't have these problems. We've got to fix this. We have to do better than this. It's just, you can't work in that environment. We don't need to hear this. The public certainly doesn't need to hear this. You've asked for things that are COVID-related, that are non-COVID related. I think, you know, we've talked for years about getting a mid-year budget review. We haven't seen that in a while. I would like to know where we are with our spending versus what we budgeted, where our revenues are, so that we can have a clear idea when these specifics are presented to us, hopefully next month, on what we can and cannot do at this point. Because we hear you. We
Thank
hear
you.
you.
All right, thank you, Commissioners. Madam DA, Mr. Sheriff, thank you all for coming here. We've heard a lot. We had a lot of work to do, and we'll be back in touch. And Commissioners, thank you all for your patience and being with us this evening. Any other matters to come before us, Madam
Are
Clerk?
we on the agenda next month?
We can put you on the agenda. That's not a problem. That's not a problem.
Thank you.
Now, let's be clear about being on the agenda. So we will have a lot of work to do between now and then. So being on the agenda is one thing, but solving the problem is something entirely different.
Specifics.
Okay. All right, thank y'all for coming. Anything else to come before us, Madam Clerk?
No further
In the
items.
absence of any objection, we are adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.
See everybody in my office.